I want to explain why I started an institute. I call my institute the Cathcart Institute, my last name. Well, why would I do that and not call it, say, the Leadership Training Institute or the Individual Development Institute or something of that nature? Because years ago, when I was creating this company in the first place, and it's a training and development company that helps people grow as a professional and as a person, I was thinking, who do I need as a role model? Should I be like a university? Should I be like a training company or a consulting firm? Or should I be like some of my heroes of the day? Back in the early part of my career, my business heroes were Earl Nightingale, W. Clement Stone, Og Mandino, Zig Ziglar, Art Linkletter, Cavett Robert, the founder of the National Speakers Association. People like that who were motivators and recognized thought leaders in the field of personal development. And I thought, what I really want to do is I want to create a business around me being the expert. So I'm really the product that I'm selling. So it's Jim Cathcart that's a product. What's the name of the company? Leadership Training International? No. The Cathcart Institute. Now, what's an institute? Because you think institute, it typically leads you to academic things or clinical things. Institute has two distinguishing features. It's doing research or it's doing education. Well, in my case, it's doing both because I'm researching human development and have been for almost 50 years, and I'm doing education through my speeches, seminars, and my online courses and my books. At this point, I've written 27 books, delivered 3,500 seminars around the world, so clearly it's an institute. Now, institute implies there's more people than me, and there have been. At various stages, as many as 10 full-time people, and most of the time, about 4 or 5 full-time people and a number of people on contract or part-time. And currently, I'm working as a solopreneur and outsourcing all of the other services that I need, all right? So if I'm going to call it the Cathcart Institute, what's the nature of the Institute? Well, it's about personal growth and professional growth. Growth is a natural process. Growth is a biological thing. So if my business was all about science, then I would make it more of a physics-based thing than a biologically based thing. Because if you look at most of the business strategy over the past 20, 30 years, they've talked about things like reinventing your organization, re-engineering your company. Re-engineering something implies it was engineered in the first place. Now, an engineer's field of study is physics. Why does that matter? Because physics is rooted in the mechanical operation of things, looking at shapes and textures and sizes and movement and force and weight and momentum and all kinds of things like that. Contrast that with biology, which is the science behind medicine and health and human development. Why a difference? It's not just a matter of semantics. In biology, you assume the existence of life. In physics, that's a secondary consideration. You're more concerned about movement, shape, size, force, impact, things like that. So in biology, everything has a nature and everything starts with that nature. Well, if I'm talking about human development, then let's say I'm talking about oak trees. The acorn is the seed of an oak tree. The acorn doesn't look anything like an oak tree. But the potential of not only one oak tree, but a forest of oak trees covering the entire earth exists in this one acorn. And that acorn, under the perfect circumstances, could spawn a forest of acorns, or oaks producing acorns for the rest of eternity. Wow. Well, if that's possible for a seed from one tree, what's possible for a human being? Because this thing, as far as we know, can't think. but it does have instinctive pathways that it follows. Okay, so I chose the acorn, and here's a hefty one, for my company logo. And an acorn has, as I often talk about, a past, a present, and a future. A stem, a cap, and a seed. The stem is the connection to the past, where all the messages and imprints and DNA is passed forward. The cap holds onto the seed till it's ready to grow by itself. And so that's protectors, guides, teachers, mentors, parents, etc. And the seed is the potential of the item, of the entity itself, okay? And it contains not only its own potential, but the potential of all the future oaks and acorns that could ever come from it. So I decided my company logo, or my company motto, this was in the 1970s. Whew. So it's a long time ago. My company motto was growth, helping people grow, okay? I signed my letters, and we're talking about branding. I signed my letters in the spirit of growth. Well, what does that mean? I mean, why not sincerely, or yours truly, or some of the old traditional signatures? Or see you soon, right? No, in the spirit of growth. I would always sign my letters in the spirit of growth, Jim, and then have my information below that. And of course, in emails, I do it that way, and in text, I often use the same thing. So what's the spirit of growth? It's the mindset, the state of being that is healthiest and most encouraging for potential to be released. The spirit of growth is a spirit of acceptance without judgment, a spirit of encouragement, a spirit of faith, a spirit of optimism, of eagerness to get started, to do something, right? Willingness, openness to new ideas. The growth mindset is the whole point of that. And this was back in the 1970s before anyone had used the phrase growth mindset. It was back then they just say attitude. You have to have a positive attitude. Well, I adopted that. So then I started using it in everything that I did. And I found a jeweler that makes these little pewter acorns, tiny little acorns, but they're lovely jewelry. And I can buy them in a small bag, several at a time. And I usually carry one with me, and I give it to people occasionally. Now, I don't carry it like a business card to just give out randomly. I used to carry actual acorns with me. This is much more practical and portable. But I would usually have an acorn somewhere on me, and if I saw a person that I felt needed some encouragement, or a person who had done an especially good job of something, and it could even be of holding a car door for someone else. If I felt that acknowledgement was indicated, then I'd say, excuse me, do you have a second? Yeah, I have something for you. And I would hand them the acorn. And I'd say, I just wanted to give you this because I appreciate what you just did. And I think it was praiseworthy. And this little memento has 3 parts, and I'd go through my stem, cap, and seed analogy. And people have told me years later, I still have my little acorn. It's right by my X, Y, or Z, whatever it is in their home or office, and they see it every day. Nice. Now, I didn't have it imprinted with Cathcart Institute, reach Jim at www. No. I didn't do anything to brand that as my own in a superficial way, like you would do a pin from your company with your phone number on it. I did it that way so that it was just a nice gift that could be passed along and remembered. And then people noticed me doing all these acorn things, and they started bringing me acorns. This is a charm from a charm bracelet. I've gotten this big one, was given to me by a former office manager who worked for me. I've got acorns everywhere. And I wrote a book about knowing yourself in order to grow yourself. And the title of the book is The Acorn Principle. And the Acorn Principle happily became an international best-selling book and was translated into multiple languages and has been a source of pride all these years. Now let's carry it further. let's say your symbol is an oak leaf, or let's say it's a diamond, or it's a star, or something that has meaning to you. You know, a teddy bear, I don't know, a scorpion, whatever your imprint is. I looked for more and more and more ways to convey growth through everything I did. I chose the colors of nature. I chose forest green, earth brown, and harvest gold. And when I wrote the acorn principle, I insisted that we have that graphic of the acorn on the cover and that we use these colors throughout. And so the acorn principle is all about nurturing your true nature so that you can grow, all right? When I wrote that book, I created a bookmark, which I could give away like a business card. And the bookmark says Nurture Your Nature, has a picture of my book on it. And then it says it's a self-guided tour of you, and it gives details on how to get the book. On the back, I had a lot of really high-powered, well-positioned people endorse the book. And so I said, leading authors who recommend the Acorn Principle. And I would give that to people. They'd look at the back and go, wow. Well, if they like it, then I'd like a copy, please, right? And so it sold more books. This, by the way, is a booklet that summarizes the key points of the Acorn Principle. And I not only had these printed to use as promotional pieces, I sold them. Since it summarizes the book, this was my handout when I was doing a seminar. And I would give it to, I'd sell it to the meeting planner. So there would be one for each person for, just a few dollars. So it was inexpensive, but it was a nice first quality handout. And on the back, that's a picture of the old me. Long ago with lots of dark hair, okay? So it had all of that contact information in there. So this is multiple purposes. Business card, handout, product to sell in quantities, right? And also something I could just leave behind in a place where I wanted someone led back to me. When I designed address labels, I chose the acorn with a person emerging from the acorn, Cathcart Institute, all of it about growth. I put together, back before we had websites, we had to have press kits. And it was a kit, a folder filled with information you would give to a newspaper or television producer or somebody to learn about you, and you would also send it to potential clients. This was my press kit folder for Cathcart Institute. Why a tree and not an acorn? Because a tree is the reason for an acorn. And this tree I have on a poster on the wall, I have here on the cover of this, and I show the roots as well as the growth portion. And this was what I did to celebrate 20 years of my business. On the back, I have, as a professional speaker, here's what I'll do for you in preparation, on site, during my talk, and after my presentation. So I got very specific and granular about how this was to be used. And then inside, I could put all kinds of materials that would address the needs of the client or what I was trying to accomplish. So the point of it all is that the essence of your business, if it's you, if you're an expert who's using your expertise to grow a business, a speaker, consultant, a coach, an advisor, podcaster, author, performer, if you are the product, right, then the way you brand yourself, and brand is how you present yourself to the world, your imprint, like Coca-Cola or the Nike swoosh or whatever. The way you brand yourself should be consistent with the essence of you down to the DNA level. Think about what you're about, what you care about, what you believe in. Don't go for a brand that just gets attention. Go for a brand that you could talk about for 3 hours and not have to repeat yourself. So that everything you do is a reflection of the value in what you bring. I formed an institute so that I could constantly and continually, for the rest of my life, help people grow.